Welcome to Whispering Wolf, where we don't just read books, we climb into their souls, pull out the wisdom hidden in the pain, and transform it into strength. There's a mountain inside you. It's not a place, not a thing you can touch or see, but a living, breathing reflection of every fear you've avoided, every emotion you've buried, and every dream you've been too afraid to chase. It's the shadow of your own potential, towering before you, waiting for you to climb. The mountain is. You is not about landscapes or hiking trails. It's about the journey through the terrain of your own mind, the steep ascents of growth, the cliffs of self-doubt, and the quiet peaks of peace that come only when you face yourself completely. Brianna Wiest tells us that self-sabotage isn't a sign of weakness. It's a misunderstood act of self-protection. Every time you've ruined something good, every time you've walked away from opportunity, procrastinated, hesitated, or drowned your potential in fear, it wasn't because you were broken. It was because some part of you still believed that staying small was safer than being seen. You learned that success could mean exposure, love could mean pain, and change could mean loss. So you built walls and called them safety. But those walls are the mountain. To climb it, you have to dismantle the false beliefs brick by brick. Every limiting thought, every pattern that repeats like an echo of your past. Wiest reminds us that self-sabotage is not destruction for the sake of chaos. It's the subconscious screaming for safety in the language of avoidance. You procrastinate because you fear judgment. You overthink because you fear loss of control. You overachieve because you're still trying to earn worth that should have been yours all along. You chase love that feels familiar, even when it hurts, because the nervous system doesn't crave peace. It craves what it knows. Healing begins when you recognize that. When you stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and start asking, "What is this behavior protecting me from?" That's when the climb truly begins. You see, transformation doesn't start with fire and motivation. It starts with fatigue, the deep, soul-level exhaustion of living in circles, repeating pain disguised as comfort. It's when you get tired of your own patterns that something inside you shifts. You stop trying to control outcomes and start listening to the whispers of your heart that say, "There's more." You stop asking for permission to evolve. You begin to understand that the discomfort of change is smaller than the agony of staying the same. But this is not an easy ascent. Growth feels like death because it is. The death of your old self, the identities that once protected you. The people pleaser, the perfectionist, the avoidant, the skeptic begin to crumble, and with them goes the illusion of safety. Wiest says, your new life will cost you your old one. You cannot climb if you insist on carrying the past. So you start letting go, not all at once, but piece by piece. A toxic belief here, a self-critical thought there, until you become light enough to rise. Healing, she reminds us, is not a grand transformation. It's thousands of small choices repeated daily. Taking responsibility for your triggers, choosing calm instead of chaos, sitting with discomfort instead of escaping it, speaking truth even when it trembles. This is micro-healing, the slow, invisible process of rewiring your nervous system to believe that peace is safe, that love doesn't have to hurt, that success doesn't have to mean loss. It's learning to stay present with your feelings instead of fighting them. Emotional intelligence, Wiest writes, is the ability to be uncomfortable and not run away. to sit with the storm inside you until it passes. Most of us don't fear failure. We fear the feelings that follow. We don't fear rejection. We fear the emptiness it might awaken. But when you learn to hold those emotions with compassion, when you stop labeling them as good or bad, you take back your power. Because emotions are not enemies, they're messengers. Anger points to where your boundaries have been crossed. Sadness asks for release. Anxiety demands presence. Shame begs for forgiveness. If you listen instead of resist, they lead you higher up the mountain. And one day, when you pause and look back, you realize the landscape has changed. Not because the world shifted, but because you did. You stopped waiting for permission to heal and became your own permission. You stopped seeing pain as punishment and began seeing it as initiation. The climb itself becomes sacred. You no longer see obstacles as signs of failure, but as invitations to evolve. Every setback becomes a mirror reflecting what still needs love within you. You stop asking life to be easy and start asking to be strong enough to handle it. And as you keep climbing, you begin to understand that the mountain was never something to conquer, but something to merge with. Something that teaches you to rise and rest at the same time. You realize that self-mastery isn't about reaching the peak and shouting victory. It's about learning to love the climb itself. Every fall becomes a teacher, every wound a map, every moment of doubt a doorway to deeper wisdom. The higher you go, the thinner the air of illusion becomes. You can't breathe in false identities anymore. You start living in truth, and truth feels lighter. You stop pretending to be who the world needed you to be, and begin becoming who your soul has been whispering about all along. You stop apologizing for your power. Stop minimizing your light. Stop watering down your voice to fit small rooms. You learn that strength isn't the absence of softness. It's the courage to be gentle in a world that taught you to harden. You start trusting your timing, no longer chasing what isn't ready, no longer forcing what isn't aligned. You learn that life is not a race to some external finish line, but a rhythm of expansion and rest, of seasons where you bloom and seasons where you root. You give yourself permission to pause, to breathe, to honor the stillness between breakthroughs. That stillness, Wiest says, is not emptiness, it's integration. It's where the lessons of the climb sink into your bones and become wisdom. You begin to realize that happiness was never hiding at the top of the mountain. It was waiting in the steps you took to reach it. You find joy in the process, peace in the effort, and meaning in the movement itself. The world around you doesn't magically change. Your job, your family, your challenges may still exist. But you change, and that changes everything. You stop living from reaction and start living from creation. You become the calm in your own storm, the anchor in your own sea. You start speaking to yourself the way you once wished others had spoken to you. Kindly, patiently, with reverence for the soul that's learning. You understand now that the person you were never needed to be fixed, only seen, held, understood. And in that understanding, you become unstoppable. Not because you are without fear, but because you are no longer ruled by it. You look down from your mountain, not in arrogance, but in awe, realizing every painful chapter was a foothold that helped you rise. You thank your mistakes for their lessons, your heartbreaks for their openings, your losses for their redirection. You forgive yourself for the years you spent in survival mode, for the times you hid your brilliance, for all the self-sabotage that was really self-protection. You whispered to your younger self, "You did what you had to do to keep me alive, and now it's safe to grow." That's when the real mastery begins. Not mastery over life, but harmony with it. You no longer resist change. You dance with it. You no longer fear uncertainty. You breathe it in as proof that life is moving through you. The mountain becomes your mirror, reflecting your evolution, showing you that every hardship you faced wasn't punishment, but preparation. You understand that healing doesn't erase the scars. It turns them into constellations, reminders of the darkness you navigated and the light you became. And when you meet others on their own mountains, you don't try to pull them up or carry them. You simply shine, reminding them that they too have the strength to climb. You begin to live with purpose, not because you found a grand mission, but because every moment becomes sacred. A conversation, a sunrise, a quiet breath. You see the beauty in imperfection, the grace in effort, the divinity in persistence. You are no longer chasing worth, you are radiating it. You are no longer searching for love, you are living as love. You are no longer climbing to escape yourself, you are climbing to return home. And when the wind at the summit finally touches your face, you realize that the mountain was never separate from you. It was you all along. It was the story of you remembering who you've always been beneath the noise. You stand there, not as a conqueror, but as a witness to your own rebirth. You inhale the thin air of truth and exhale everything that no longer serves. Every peak becomes a new beginning, every ending a new ascent. You walk back down, not defeated, but different, lighter, freer, awake. You understand now that there will always be new mountains, new fears, new challenges, but none will ever feel as impossible as the first. Because once you've climbed yourself, you know you can climb anything. And as you walk forward, you whisper the truth. Brianna Wiest spent this entire book teaching. The only way out is through. The only way up is in. This is Whispering Wolf. If these words stirred something within you, if you felt the pull to climb your own mountain, remember this: your pain is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your rise.